In this assignment, we are going to make this poster right here. You can use your own colors, you can use your own picture, but the main point of it is to learn how to work with text in Photoshop and learn some of the key terms in text editing. And this is something that's easy to learn, but it's also on the certification test, so it's an important thing to cover in graphic design. All right, I'm going to be giving you a template that's going to look like this. So you'll just open up this black and white version and just basically trace all the letters and put everything in the same place that I have as far as letters go. All right, so the first thing I want you to do after you open this up is to check your workspace, make sure that we're all in the same workspace. You could just put reset essentials to make sure that everything is set to the default so that your settings on the right hand side, these panels, look just like mine. The next thing you're going to do is turn rulers on. So you can press Control R to turn rulers. So you'll notice how when I did that, I'll turn it on and off so you can see how at the very top I have a ruler now, and on this left hand side I have a ruler. And you can also turn those on right here, rulers under the view menu, but Control R turns rulers on. The next thing you're going to do is draw a guide that's going to come out from the rulers. So let's go to the very top of the ruler where it's like the medium gray color. Click inside there and don't let go of your mouse. Just click, hold down, and you'll see this line comes out. Don't let go of your mouse. Just keep dragging. And let's put one right there on the very top of that every Sunday line. And then do that again. Go up in the dark gray area, click. Don't let go of your mouse button. Hold it down and drag until you have a guide under that one. And then the last guide, you're going to go over here on the left side, click and hold down, and just put a line on the left-hand side of these letters here. The W is going to stick out a little bit, that's okay, but make it line up with these. If you accidentally put it in the wrong place, if you have this move tool right here at the top selected, just hover over it until you get this little change in the icon, and then it lets you move it to where you want to move it. So don't worry if you drop it in the wrong place. You can just get the move tool and click and move it back. If you ever want to turn them off, Control H means hide. So Control H, it hides them. Control H puts them back. All right, so let's start working on the text. So get the text tool over here on the left, and then just click on the blue line right here, anywhere on the blue line. Click that, and you're going to get the font that you used last. So if you use something else last, it might be a totally different font, color, size, and everything. We're going to go to Properties, and under here where it says Character, I want you to type in Impact, and then you're going to type in 125 for the font size, and then this is called leading. It's the space between the lines of text. I want that to be 125 also, and the color should be black. So if you have it on a different color, make sure you switch it to black. And then this button right here, click these three little things there and make sure that this horizontal scale says 150. When you first have yours, it's actually going to say 100, but we want to stretch this type out. So go to where it says, if you're not sure what each of these things does, if you just hold your mouse in there, it will usually tell you, there it is, it takes a minute. So I held my mouse over it and it says horizontal scale. I want to stretch that out to 150. All right, we want our font to be left justified, so let's go up here to at the very top. If you have this control strip, you can see it also lets you choose the font and the size and some of the settings, and this is the paragraph setting. So center, right, we want it to be left justified, so click that right there. All right, so everyone should have left justified text. It should be impact, 125 is the size, 125 is the leading, 150 is the horizontal stretch, and the color is black. So while this is selected, if it's not selected, just click your mouse back in there and right click until it gets selected, and make sure you have caps lock on and just say we, and then press return and say love, return, live, return, music. And then get your move tool and go ahead and just drag that so it lines up on the left-hand side on our guide. Now you'll notice that these letters are not lining up to the template, and that is really the main purpose of this assignment, is to show you how to adjust what's called kerning and tracking. So let's go ahead and get the text tool again and click in between the L and the O. We are going to adjust the kerning. So once again, if you go over here to properties, and this is the kerning right there. Once again, if you rest your mouse over that, it'll tell you. And you notice how it gives me this finger with these arrows. If I click there, it lets me drag out a number. So if you just do that really slow, you can drag it until it gets to be on top of the template that I gave you. So it's -50. And then let's do it here too. Click in between the O and the V and reduce the kerning there. And then it's not as much on that one, but do it the same thing. Scoot the E in a little bit. And just go ahead and do that to all those letters. Go up there where it says V/A, that's kerning, and just pull them a little bit closer together so that they kind of line up with the template. Let's go down to the M and the U, kerning. Don't worry if it's not perfectly exactly on there, but as long as it's really, really close. All right, that's pretty good. All right, so the kerning, there was something I wanted to show you. I saw a sign recently that really shows you why kerning is important. This is a horrible sign. You can tell that they should have kerned in between this O and this Y and scooted that over. They should have had more space between the apostrophe and the Y. Down here in Hickory, you can see that that spacing is terrible. So really this is the main purpose of learning how to do kerning, is so that you can space out your letters to look like the way they should. Okay, so we have the main headline done. Now let's just do the every Sunday. So once again, we'll get our text tool and click in here, and it's going to give us the same font that we used before, but we're going to change it in a minute anyway. Just go ahead and type every Sunday. I know you can't see it all. If you want to be able to see it while you're typing, you can always select it, and let's go down here and change the size 40. So change the size to 40, and this time we're going to change the font to Arial Bold, or actually Arial Black if you have it. And we want to get rid of this horizontal scale like we had before, so we just want to put it on 100. 100% means it's just normal, 100%. So have your horizontal scale on 100, and now we just need to do something called tracking. So we did kerning, that's the space between two characters. Tracking is the space between all the characters. So once again, we're going to hover over that VA, and we are going to pull this out until we have a very similar to what I had spaced out. Let's get our move tool and move this text up a little bit. You can use the arrow keys. Don't forget your arrow keys. You can, nudge your text a little bit with arrow keys. Okay, so this isn't perfect, but it's close enough. I just want you to really understand that tracking is the space between a group of characters, kerning is the space just between two characters, and then letting is the space between the lines of text. That's like after you press return. So you need to know how to make all these text edits that I just showed you for the certification exam. So that is very important information to learn. All right, so we're going to actually want this font to be white. So actually we can go back to our text tool, and you can change the color. You can either do it right here, or if you have the text tool selected and you're on the right layer, it will let you change it there. It's always important when you're first learning how to use Photoshop that you're on the layer that you want to work on. A lot of times people try to make edits and it's not working because they're just not on the right layer, and I almost did the same thing. So click on this every Sunday, go back here to color, and let's make that white. And now we are ready to draw a box behind this. So let's make a new layer. So you can either go down here and press plus, or you can go over here and say new layer, or you can say layer, new layer. And let's just call this box. And get your rectangular marquee tool, which is right here. And just start, you can start anywhere, even way off the page. It doesn't matter. It will start up on the edge of the page as long as you're at least outside of it. You don't have to like try to select it right on the line. So anywhere outside of there, but try to get on our guides. And it should kind of snap to the guide. So we have all that selected, and we want to fill that with black. So just go to Edit, Fill, and the contents. You can either make it the foreground color if you have the foreground color as black. This is our foreground color. Or you can choose a color right here, or it even already has black. So we can just say black, leave everything else as default, and then do Control D to deselect. All right, we can hide those guides now. We don't need them anymore, so you can use Control H to hide them. So what we have here is the box is on top of our letters. So if you just go to the layers and you move this down here, then you can have that box behind the text. Ready to do the last bit of text here, the summer concert series, and I'm going to show you how to make that go over a curve like that. So let's get our text tool and type out all caps summer concert series. Obviously we can't see that because it's so big, so I'm going to do Control A to select that. You can also select the text just by double clicking inside of it. And let's change this to black. And we don't want it to be stretched out. So that's 100, that's correct. We don't want the tracking to be anything either. So let's just go back to 0 on the tracking. And then we want to change the font to Arial, regular Arial. So just normal Arial. So the size on that should be 30. Okay, let's get our move tool, and we're going to drag it over here kind of in the center, and now we're going to give this a bend to go around that circle. So we want to get the text tool selected again. So make sure that every time you're making an edit to text that you have the text tool selected, unless you're just moving it, but the text tool should be selected. And we want to go over here where this says create warped text at the top. A quick side note, every time you have a different tool selected, this very top thing here called the control strip is going to have different information on it, okay? So it's a lot like the properties panel. It will say different things, and so when it's on the text tool, it does give you like a chance to change the font and the size and the alignment and the coloring, and then this here. See that T with a line under it? We want that. So create warped text. So if you click on that, and let's just go to arc, and then it lets you decide how much you want to bend it and which way. So we're going to kind of go probably, let's just say 75 for now. Say OK. And it's too big, so just do Control T and click and drag this down to be a smaller size. You can just drag it by the handles to make it a little bit bigger. And when you're done, just press the check mark. Alright, don't worry about this line of text here matching up with the template below it, as long as it's wrapping around this arc. Alright, we're ready to add our background color and our photograph and the little record that's at the very bottom along here. So what we need to do is, I'm going to provide this file to you right here. So I'll give you a link to download that. You'll download it. It has a transparent background. Notice the checkerboard. That means when we copy and paste it, we won't have like a white background. It'll just be this record and the record player. So you want to go over to your rectangular marquee tool and do Control A, and so you can have the little dotted lines going around there. That means it's selected. And we do Control C to copy. Then go over to our file and do Control V to paste, and then Control T to transform it. So we want to do two things in this transform. We want to scale it to make it smaller, and we want to rotate it. So let's do the rotate first. Notice how when I go out to the corner, outside the corner, it gives me a little curve. So I'm going to take that while it's out there and click down there and drag until we have it going this way. If you hold the Shift key, it will kind of like snap when you want it to be a perfectly 90-degree turn. So you can go ahead and start rotating it without holding the Shift key. When you get close to 90 degrees, hold the Shift key and it'll help you get it perfectly level so that we have this line right here. And now you can just go from the corner and drag the size and scale it down. So you'll need to line it up with that with the template that I gave you. And it needs to be the right size, otherwise your text won't be lining up with it. So that looks pretty good there. You can always go in and edit it and fine-tune it later if you need to. So see how it's gray down, lighter gray at the bottom? Just kind of make sure that's lined up so that you don't see that light gray there. And then press the check mark at the top. All right, now let's do a background layer. So there's a couple different ways you can do a background layer. I'm going to show you this way over here on the Layers tab on the right. If you go down here, if you go down here and you select this icon that's the little circle, it's like a half black and half white circle. We're going to click on that, and that's called a fill or adjustment layer. So let's click on this, and you can choose solid color. If you want to try experimenting with gradients, you can. Gradient means just fading from one color to another. So if you wanted it to fade from like orange to yellow, you can experiment with these, but I'm going to keep it simple for this video and just click solid color. And this window will come up and it will let you pick a color. So I'm going to go with kind of an orange color here. And so you'll see that put this on top of everything. I need to click on this layer and drag it down below everything except for the template, which, by the way, we don't even need the template anymore. If you want to turn a layer off so you can't see it anymore, you can just click this button here, and I'm going to turn off these two layers, all right, because I'm not using them anymore. And now we have the background layer, and let's say you picked a background color and you don't like it. Don't worry, if you go over here to the little box, you can right click on that and you can choose a different color. And then finally, the very last thing you'll need to do is to put a picture that is going to go up here in the top 2/3 of your poster. So I have one picked out. You can go to Pixabay and search live music and find an image that you like. Make sure once again that you don't use this smaller thumbnails that are in the gray box, because those are the stock photos that you have to pay for. And when you click on them, they're going to have watermarks. So make sure you go down here and use one of the larger pictures they have in the thumbnails. And if you like one, you just click on it and click the free download. All right, so I had one already picked out and I saved mine so I can put it in my portfolio. I'm going to get the rectangular marquee tool over here and do Control A to select it all, Control C to copy, and I'm going to go on my poster and do Control V to paste it. So you can see I have the layer pasted in here. If you need to move it around, you just click and drag to put it in the right order. And then we're going to do Control T and grab it by the corner and scale it so that it fits in that top 2/3 of our poster. I want this guy to be off to the right a little bit to balance out that blank space. And when you're done, just press the check mark. And then the very last thing I want to show you on this is how to do a layer blending mode. So if you go over here to your Layers tab, see where it says normal right there? You can try clicking on one of these and get some different effects. Like this just darkens it, multiply, experiment around and see all the different ways you can, make the photograph look different. I thought it looked kind of cool being on the screen. So I'm going to leave it like that. You can also, if you wanted to just leave it normal, you can mess around with this opacity setting. So you can click this little down arrow next to opacity and you could just lower the opacity. That way you can see the text still. It's a little bit more readable. And then the last thing we do is type our name on all of our projects. So let's get the text tool again. Go in the bottom corner and type your name. And I'm going to do right click in there to select, or I'm going to click inside my text line and do Control A. And obviously I need to get rid of this tracking that we had before. I'm going to put 0, and I want a smaller font. That is good enough like that. All right, and you can get the move tool if you wanted to scale it back up or move it around. You can always do that with the move tool, and then press the check mark when you're done. And now this is ready to be saved. So you're going to go File, Save. I already had mine saved, but yours, if you hadn't saved it yet, it will ask you to save it, and you'll make sure you save it as a PSD, because that is the file that you need to save to edit it. So like if you save it as a PSD and the next day you want to come in here and change it, you can change it because you'll have all your layers. Your Photoshop file keeps your layers. It's very important to save your Photoshop file. Sometimes I have students that they save the JPEG only, and then they want to edit something and they can't. It's completely ruined. So make sure you always just go File, Save, and save a PSD Photoshop file. And then you'll do your second file, which is Save a Copy. This is where you can do the JPEG, and that is the file that you're going to put in your website portfolio. So always save 2 files, a PSD that you can edit, and then a JPEG that you can put in your portfolio. The quality, you can always just put that on 6 or 7. That's fine for this class.